This is the Getting the Deal Done podcast, and welcome. Today we are going to talk about numbers and debt and revenue and growth and some of the good and the trouble these things can get you into when not handled correctly. So the idea for this came from a news feature recently. A school district about 35 miles north of Seattle is in deep trouble. There's a lot of school districts around the Seattle area in trouble. They're underwater. They don't have enough money, um, not making budget. And of course, they can't just raise money like add to the sales tax. It has to be voted on. It's like a business almost. You have to have people willing to provide you that money. Uh, and we talk about business, and we can go out and generate sales. And as a friend and executive from a major corporation said, growth hides a lot of operational warts. Revenue can do a lot of good things, but you have to control the revenue. Uh, The school district, though, coming back to that, these people on the board have good intentions. The people working there, the superintendent, all good intentions. Uh, but it's funny because one of the school board members left, which was part of the headline today the day I'm recording this. And she said, I don't really have it in me or the skills to do a turnaround. Uh, because managing a school district has got to be a lot like managing a business. And I tell buyers, you have to be able to manage people, processes, money, and enthusiasm. And think about it from a school district, think about it from a business perspective. Even in any nonprofit, you have to be able to do those things. You know, debt has been in the news a lot lately. Uh, Wall Street Journal, banks are fighting with each other about who gets paid first from all these over-leveraged companies, one of them being iHeartRadio, which owns hundreds and hundreds of radio stations. Uh, a friend of ours has a property management firm in Texas, multifamily management. He says the quality of applications has deteriorated because of increased consumer debt. Credit cards. PitchBook really had an article. How much debt is too much? They mentioned how the Bank of England has said that global default rates have tripled. And the final line in that article was, as these things go, I mean, things being finding out about the debt and its effect, we probably won't know until we've passed it. We see business buyers who don't understand debt. Sellers don't understand the buyer's debt. They're over leveraged. Just because the bank says they'll lend you at a very low debt coverage ratio doesn't mean you should take it. Put in more money, get a different bank. Uh, Leverage is great when it's under control, uh, and it can hurt your business in other things. But it's not just debt, it's paying attention to the numbers. Here's a couple examples. I had a client a while back, many years ago, and I remember him saying, well, the profit and loss statement says we're making a lot of money, but how come we don't have any money in the bank? Well, it sure looked on initial glance, and this was pretty much what it was. All that profit was going into AR and inventory. They were over inventoried and they weren't collecting like they should. Pretty basic thing. But when you're into the product and you don't understand the financial department and the accounting systems that have to be in place, you can run into trouble. Uh, I see buyers who, after they get in, it sure seems like they're more interested in saying, I'm a business owner than actually doing anything. They just like the quote unquote perks of ownership. And sometimes it takes that two by four to the head of a bank calling or worrying about cash flow to get them to really get off their duff. But owners can be just as bad. I've got a prospective client. I've known him for years, and I've told him your financial statements are hit and miss. Your P&L looks great. You've been growing every year. Your profits are growing, growing, growing. But your balance sheet isn't that good. It seems he is taking as much cash as he can out of the business to fund his future retirement. And he's plotting out how much he needs to get for the business and how much he needs to sock away. And the balance sheet is underwater. Liabilities exceed cash and receivables by quite a bit. It's not debt, but it's not managing the money. Big players over leveraged, private equity over leverages. And that's what my first point about the banks fighting on how they're going to get paid from all these companies that are over leveraged. But that is not a good reason for lower middle market deals to be over leveraged. All of these things are not anywhere close to what you need to be doing to manage your debt, to manage your numbers, to manage your growth. And keep in mind, growth sucks cash. And a hiccup can be really good news that requires you to spend a lot of money to fulfill those orders before you start getting paid on them. This is John Martinka, Getting the Deal Done podcast series, and I hope you enjoyed this episode on finances and debt. Thanks for listening.